The sound of her laughter was the first crack. Soft. Cruel. Familiar. It echoed off the marble walls of the courtroom like glass breaking in slow motion. My mother's lips curled, eyes glinting beneath the pale fluorescent lights, while my father, stoic as ever, just shook his head. The gesture wasn't disappointment. It was dismissal. And that hurt worse than anything I was about to hear. I froze mid-step, every nerve ending tightening. The bailiff's voice called my name, but it came through cotton. My palms slicked with sweat. I glanced across the room, and there he was, Ethan, my husband of 7 years, sitting next to my parents' lawyer. My parents' lawyer. That detail alone should have told me everything. 3 months earlier, I would have sworn my life was perfect. Ethan and I had just bought a small lake house outside the city, a place my parents helped us find. My mom called it our fresh start. We'd been trying to rebuild after the miscarriage, our third. My mother said the move would clear the air. I believed her. Back then, when she'd bring casseroles and fold my laundry, I thought she was being kind. When Ethan started spending more time working from their house, helping my dad with consulting paperwork, I thought he was keeping busy to avoid the grief. But little things began to splinter. A perfume I didn't wear on his collar. A lipstick smudge on his coffee mug, familiar shade, familiar shape. I'd once bought my mother the same shade for her birthday. I laughed it off. God, how stupid I was to laugh it off. Mrs. Turner, the judge's voice snapped me back. You're being called as a respondent in this case, correct? Respondent. That word crawled under my skin. Yes, I said, voice thin. I tried not to look at my mother, but her laughter still vibrated in my ears. My father sat with his hands folded neatly, expression unreadable. Across from me, Ethan avoided my gaze, staring down at the stack of papers in front of him like they were a lifeline. Divorce proceedings, the clerk had said. But that wasn't what this was. Not really. Because as the documents were read aloud, I realized this wasn't about a marriage ending. It was about an alliance being revealed. Petitioner claims the property at Lake Merrin was purchased using funds from the Turner Family Trust, the lawyer said. Therefore, it rightfully belongs to the trust's beneficiaries, Mr. and Mrs. Turner, and not the respondent. My breath caught. That was my home. Our home. But then the lawyer continued. And the petitioner, Mr. Ethan Turner, asserts that he was under the impression the property would remain within the family's financial trust. He seeks to dissolve the marriage under allegations of misrepresentation. I blinked. Once. Twice. What the hell was happening? My eyes darted to Ethan. His face was pale, lips trembling slightly, but his signature was already there at the bottom of every page. My parents' lawyer had filed everything. Ethan. I whispered, barely audible. Tell me this isn't real. He didn't answer. That silence, God, it carved me open. The betrayal didn't hit all at once. It came in waves, memory after memory crashing into each other until everything blurred. The nights he came home smelling of my mother's lavender lotion. The way my father suddenly stopped answering my calls. The sudden, unexplained access Ethan had to family accounts. I had thought grief made me paranoid. But grief had only made me blind. Mrs. Turner, the lawyer said, voice smooth, rehearsed. Our clients are prepared to settle if you agree to sign over the deed and relinquish any claims to the trust. Our clients. Plural. My parents and my husband. Something cold spread through me. My vision tunneled. The judge's gavel sounded distant, irrelevant. I wanted to scream. To demand how they could sit there, my own blood, and plot this behind my back. But all I could do was stare at my mother, her perfectly composed face betraying not an ounce of guilt. Finally, she spoke. You always were dramatic, Claire, she murmured, her voice a velvet knife. This is just business. You never understood how to manage what you had. I flinched. Manage what I had. She meant Ethan. She meant money. She meant control. And then Ethan finally looked up, eyes glistening, not with regret, but fear. Of her. Of them. That's when I knew. He hadn't betrayed me for love. He'd betrayed me for survival. The hearing dragged on in a blur. I signed nothing. Not yet. But their signatures, their alliances, were already etched into my bones. When it ended, I left the courtroom before anyone could speak to me. My heels echoed down the hallway like gunshots. But just before the door swung shut, I heard my mother's voice again, low, almost amused. She'll come around. She always does. Outside, the sky was the color of lead. Rain clung to the air, heavy and electric. I sat on the courthouse steps, my hands trembling as I replayed every moment of my marriage, every manipulation, every kind smile that hid a knife. And yet, beneath the fury, there was guilt. Because I had seen it coming. I'd ignored the warning signs because I wanted to believe in them. In family. In love. In the illusion that if I just kept forgiving, things would get better. But the truth was uglier. I wasn't betrayed because I was blind. I was betrayed because I trusted. That night, I went back to the lake house one last time. The lights were off. The key still fit, but everything inside felt foreign. The air colder, emptier. I walked to the study, where Ethan's laptop still sat open. Curiosity, or maybe madness, made me look. Emails. Hundreds of them. Between him and my mother. At first, they were about finances, then about me. She's too emotional lately. You'll need to push her toward selling. We can't let her control the trust. Then one line stopped me cold. You'll have your share when the divorce is final. Just keep her calm. Signed, Dad. My vision blurred. My father, the man who taught me never to lie, had orchestrated the whole thing. The trust. The marriage. Even the support after my miscarriages. It was all leverage. I sank to the floor, shaking. The clock ticked behind me, indifferent. But then another realization crept in, slow and poisonous. There was one thing they hadn't counted on. Everything in that house, every email, every transaction, was under my name. I smiled through tears. The next morning, when my mother called to check on me, her voice dripping with full sympathy, I let her talk. I let her believe I'd broken. Then I said, softly, you really shouldn't leave your passwords written in your desk drawer, Mom. The silence on the other end was perfect. I hung up. In the weeks that followed, investigations began. Quietly, methodically. I didn't need revenge, I only needed truth. And truth, once set free, has a way of burning everything it touches. Ethan left the city. My parents' accounts froze. Their perfect empire cracked. And me. I started over. Not out of victory, but out of survival. Still, sometimes, I hear it, the echo of her laugh in that courtroom. A sound I'll never forget. Because that was the moment I learned what betrayal truly sounds like. Not the breaking of a heart, but the breaking of illusions.